Check 1 2, check 1 2. Miami on the Rocks, Casey Chopz. Make sure you follow us on that Instagram at MIA on the Rocks. Follow us on YouTube. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Fresh off the Thanksgiving. Today's guest, I've known him for, more than 10 years. More than 10 years. Crypto expert, been in the music industry for a long time. Manager of MIMS. He's got plaques. Manager of Blackout, right? Producers,
business partners,
they got plaques. I got Erik Answerman in here. What's up, brother?
What up, man?
Good to see you, bro. How's everything?
That's like we're not supposed to be doing that during this.
Really? Damn, bro.
But I do it, and then people look at me, awkward, and I'm like,
damn, it's done for the handshake, bro. Is that
the dapping and the handshake thing in America is like done for like at least a year.
You think so? Damn, bro. So. How's it? I initially got the idea to bring you on because, I've, transitioned and got into stocks, got into crypto, and you're always, shedding light and giving information to the people in the crypto game. And you seem heavily into it. You seem very educated in that subject. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about what kind of got you into that?
Yeah. So, music executive, been doing it my whole life ever since college. Moved out from New York. Moved down to Miami in 2005, working for Jive Records at the time, which is a division of Sony Records. Mm-hmm. Jive has now merged into RCAJ, so there is no more Jive Records. It's now RCAJ. Mm-hmm. But at the time, and even now, they have everyone from Britney Spears, mm-hmm. Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, mm-hmm. To Chris Brown, mm-hmm. and T-Pain. Mm-hmm. So when I moved down to Miami in 2005, it was to do radio promotion and marketing, mm-hmm. and handle the entire Florida region for Jive mm-hmm. Records. This was before anyone knew who Chris Brown and T-Pain was. Mm-hmm. So kind of my first tasks and responsibilities when I came down to Florida was to make Chris Brown and T-Pain, along with the other records at Jive, but those were the developing acts, a household name. Mm-hmm. And look at where they are now.
Exactly.
So I take pride in knowing that I was one of the first radio promotion guys to take those two mm-hmm. Gentlemen on the road and introduce them to radio stations like Power 96 and, mm-hmm. and all the other stations down here and get them airplay on commercial radio. And then radio then translates into popularity, and then mm-hmm. hopefully popularity translates into, at the time, record sales.
Right.
Today's streams. During my time at Jive Records, I don't want to be long-winded with the answer, but it's a pretty mm-hmm. long-winded response.
Well, let's start from your beginning. So this is a good.
Okay, so I guess that's my beginnings in Florida.
Right.
But prior to that, I worked at Elektra Records for 3.5 years, which is like Metallica, Stain, Busta Rhymes. I'm an OG, Missy Elliott.
Right.
So I've been doing it for quite some time, up in New York, and one of the youngest. Actually, I was the youngest radio promotion marketing person mm-hmm. in the history of Elektra. I was 23 years old or 22 mm-hmm. when I got the job out of college, and I was working in New York, which was still is the number one radio market in the world, and that was a very big task at a young age, and I learned a lot. Mm-hmm. I got the job because I was very qualified. Mm-hmm. But
where were you born?
I was born in New Jersey. Well, I was born in New York, mm-hmm. But I grew up in New Jersey. Went to Rutgers University, which is a New Jersey university, and then first job and interned at various record labels. I interned at Loud Records, mm-hmm. Wu-Tang, Big Pun, mm-hmm. Beat Nuts, Alcoholics, Mobb Deep,
classic.
Rest in Peace Project. I mean, so doing street team, mm-hmm. like on an all Spanish and black street mm-hmm. team. I was the white dude in Corona, Queens, like Clueless, mm-hmm. but hanging up posters and stuff. So I've done it all. I've done almost every aspect of the music industry I've been a part of, from street team to radio promotion to discovering talent to signing talent, A&Ring projects, getting them deals, negotiating publishing deals, the whole gamut I've done. Mm-hmm. And Mims was someone that I was working with when I was at Elektra, and all the labels passed on him. And again, that's a 5-hour conversation about what happened with Mims. But when I moved to Florida for Jive Records, we took the This Is Why I'm Hot record and I promoted it to the same stations that I was promoting T-Pain and Chris Brown to. Mm-hmm. And I developed a good network of people in South Florida, including yourself and others. And I started to distribute the This Is Why I'm Hot record independently to my radio relationships in Florida, and a few stations one station in Fort Myers specifically, and Omar, who's now at Power 96 of all places in Miami, as Big O, as well as Beata, who's now the music director at Kiss in LA, one of the most powerful pop stations. She was in Tampa. They played This Is Why I'm Hot. It got a good reaction, and then it started to translate into radio spins across Florida. And then after some Florida stations picked it up, parts of the other country started to pick it up because it was doing really well.
It started in Florida?
It started
Wow.
It started New York artist Mims, New York rapper Mims. We had a little traction in New York, but it was just, it's like a rat race, man. Everyone's chasing the same cheese in New York.
Yeah.
So Mims said, yo, what if I was the first New York artist to come down to Florida and break out of Florida? And Florida was, and still is, super poppin'. And we kind of broke the mold. We kind of pioneered that. At the time, the only number one record from a New York rapper was actually 50. People don't recognize that the only other number one record or top big record coming out of New York in a lot of years at that time was This Is Why I'm Hot. But that it was because of Florida that Mims's popularity gained, and that we got signed to Capitol Records, which is a West Coast label. We made over $18 million for Capitol Records.
Damn.
We had a 50-50. I'm going to break it down. We had a 50-50 deal with Capitol, which is unheard of. I think Drake might be it's unheard of to have a 50-50 deal. That means that we weren't a royalty-based artist with Capitol.
Right.
So we shared in the profits.
It was like a straight partnership.
It was like a partnership.
Yeah.
Where whatever they spend on the album and the marketing and the promotion gets recouped, gets taken off of the top of the earnings, and then the remainder gets split 50-50 between my company, American King Music, and mine and Mims and my partner Sales Company, and Capitol Records. And what happened was they ripped us off. They stole literally millions and millions of dollars from us. And we went through a lawsuit, litigation with them. And I had to sell my house in Florida. I had to, people think that it takes years to become an overnight success.
Right.
People think that one hit wonder, overnight success. No,
Right.
Anyone who's had success in the music industry has literally, for the most part, there's outsiders. For the most part, have literally spent 10 years
right
developing their craft to get to a position.
Sleeping on floors and like
we did all that.
Yeah.
I'm humble enough to admit that we did all that shit.
Yeah.
We did all that. We were traveling on the Method Man tour when gas was 90 cents, to show you how old I am.
Right.
When gas was 90 cents and we couldn't afford a tank of gas, and we were sleeping we were sleeping in closets and Motel 6s on the road traveling the country because that's what we had to do at the time. That's all we could do. Anyways, I digress. Capitol ripped us off. We went ahead and sued them, and that really, coming from the music side, the record side, and then translating over to the artist management side and the discovery of talent, I really recognize how fucked up the labels are and how corrupt the system is, and it's how it's really it's a system that's not set up for the majority of the artists to win.
Right.
And it's really set up to piss off a lot of artists, and they just go through them okay, next.
So all this talk that Kanye was talking about as we need to own our, that was probably music to your ears, huh?
I retweeted Erik Answerman with a K, E-R-I-K. You follow me. I reposted all that shit because Kanye's a little bit crazy, but one of the tweets that Kanye mentioned in there is the exact same reason or method that Capitol Records was able to use to steal millions of dollars from my family and from myself. So Kanye was spot on. He's not really spot on with a lot of stuff in my, but that he was 100.
Right.
Every tweet that he said, he was spot on. Now it's self-serving for him in a lot of aspects, but yes, he was
his intentions, and it made complete sense.
Yeah.
So
fast forward, after we got ripped off, Mims is we asked to be released from Capitol between the first album and the second album. We said, we don't want to be here anymore. You want to rip us off, just let us go. And they were like, it's not that easy to get off a little label. We're like, okay, well, you want us to stay, you're going to have to pay us for the second album. And they did. And then they released the album too early because they wanted to make what's called fiscal fourth quarter, which means they have billings that they needed to make. And it's at the time, now it's owned by Universal Music, but at the time it was owned by EMI, which was a British-owned company. And the fourth quarter in Britain is the end of March or beginning of April.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
For UK based companies. So think of it as their December. and they need to make their shareholders happy and their investors happy, and they need to show billing. And at the time, Mims was the hottest artist on Capitol Records. He was the black music department,
right,
for the most
and
part.
how long? This is why I'm hot. How long was that on the charts? That number?
Oh shit, man,
Bro, I feel like that record was number one for.
We released it in like October of 2006. The album came out in March of 2007. So it was but it was a global. It wasn't just number one in America. It's global in like every fucking country around the world. Like I said, generated over $18 million. And bottom line is they stole it all. Like they said that we owed them money, essentially. So we said, get us out. They wouldn't let us out. Am I talking too much about? Because this is really in-depth music stuff.
We're in no rush.
All right, cool. The label had up to a year to opt in his second album. So it's their option to, I'm really going to break down the music industry.
Yeah.
It's their option to determine whether or not they want to give us a budget to release the second album. So the album came out in 2007 of March. So they had essentially until March of 2008 to tell us whether they wanted him to release another album. Well, what happens between 2007 and 2008? A year is a death sentence for an artist. If you're not putting out music or releasing music, especially today. Back then it wasn't as bad, but it was bad. Today you don't release music like damn near every week. You're like irrelevant, out of sight, out of mind. So the label fucked us by waiting to opt us in when they knew we wanted out. So they could have either said at the time, no, we're going to opt you in. Here's your album budget. Go record your album. Give it to us because you're contractually obligated. Or they could have said, let us out. They waited until the last 5 minutes possible legally by law to opt us in, which was like March XYZ, like right before 9 p.m. business time in like UK. They said, we want your album. So then what happened? So then they give us the budget, which was decent. And then we had to record the album. So it took us another like 6 months to get the album out. So a year and a half passed between when the first album was released with This Is Why I'm Hot and the second album. And then the second album released, and they were expecting us to come up with none of This Is Why I'm Hot, but Mims was very introspective in the second album. Was more, it wasn't so radio friendly.
Right.
And the label was like, well, are you sure you want to go with this single move? And I was like, yeah, but that's just a setup record. We got to come with the next one. And then we were shooting the video to Move in LA, and the label's like, we're releasing your album like XYZ date. I was like, no, you are fucking not. It's like the album's not ready. They were like, well, you don't have a choice. We're the label. We're going to release it, but we're going to give you a second video. So whatever single you guys want to come out with after Move, we'll give you the video for the second album. And what happened was they were like, we predict the album was going to do 80,000 copies the first week. Back then, pretty good. Even today, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So we were like, all right, if you guys are going to do it, go ahead, whatever. We thought it was a bad move. Bottom line is, album came out, it did like 12 or 13,000 copies the first week, like physically or whatever. Obviously, it was a bomb. It tanked. They basically stopped returning our calls. They didn't give us the second video to push the real single that we wanted, and they eventually granted us our release off the album and got us off the album after robbing, I don't know, $10 million from us,
and putting you in that purgatory of like 2 years.
Exactly, which is a death sentence. Right. I could have gone to any universe. Like there were so many labels I wanted to sign them. I could have went to any label, or could have been independent, which is really what we always wanted to be. Anyways, I'm going off.
So do you for artists today? Like being signed is not something you want to be. Like that's not as. I mean, I guess it depends, but like it's not as glamorous as it. Well, I got signed. People don't even know what that means, really. Like I can again spend hours talking about that subject. I am, in my humble opinion, an expert in the subject because I've gone through it. I also gave Jason Derulo his first production deal, but no one talks about that. And I'm very independently minded driven. Labels are not signing artists. Labels are signing, well, they're signing a lot of TikTok crap, but labels want to sign a team, a business. So today they wouldn't just sign Mims because it's Mims. They would want Mims, Erik, and my other partners because they know that there's a team around. It's like a label almost.
Like QC, quality control.
Exactly.
They want to see that there's people behind that artist that have common sense and know how to that are an expansion for the labels, because the labels are not doing artist development anymore. Right. Anyone that tells you labels are doing artist development are fucking lying.
It's been dead.
They're not. They're not. Yeah. They're signing something that's already got. Labels are great at this. They're great at taking something that has momentum and expanding that momentum globally. So,
and you know what's crazy? I'll even say radio is not doing radio talent development anymore. They just want to let's sign Nick Cannon, let's syndicate the big guy instead of developing actual new talent. You know what I mean?
Well, that has to do with budgets and
Right.
shrinking revenues
Right.
and more people having diverse ways to view and listen to content.
Right.
Whereas the record labels, it's like they're becoming licensing hubs. They just want to they want catalog music, and they want to be able to license that content to technology, which we'll get into. Technology platforms like Spotify and others that are building technologies off of their content. A lot of these technology platforms like Spotify cannot succeed
Isn't
without
that like
that
a
content.
conflict of interest, bro? Like,
No, it's not a conflict of interest for them, for the labels wanting to be able to license the content to the technology companies. The record labels, if you want to compare it to radio, the record labels don't want to create their own technology platforms because it's a very big risk. They have to spend a lot of money. They have to it's a whole different different employees, and so that what they say is that we'll let the entrepreneurs like myself go out there and spend our money and take our risk, and then whichever ones succeed, those are the ones we're going to leech onto because they need our content to succeed. So it's business. It's not. That's definitely not a conflict. What is a conflict, and this happens not in America per se, but definitely overseas in places like Korea and a lot of Asian countries, where the record label is also the management company and the agent, and everything goes through them, and the label owns the rights to the group. So let's like Disney, like Disney. Oh yeah, it's 360 times.
It's a 540.
Yeah, it's like we own. It's like everything.
Yeah.
And out there, like BTS. If a member of BTS, was to leave, biggest band in the world. If
I literally found out about them 2 weeks ago, but continue.
They're the big thing. If a member of BTS was to leave, they would just replace them because the label Big Hit Entertainment owns BTS,
right?
Meaning the brand BTS. So it's like, okay, you don't want to be on this thing. See ya. Next one.
Damn, bro. That's crazy.
I know about international markets and all that stuff.
I was going to say, so what made you transition into the tech side? Like,
this goes back, I don't know, 5-6 years ago after we got screwed by the labels. Mims is a techie. He's always got the latest gadgets and stuff, and he was like, we got to get into the tech wave because we're entrepreneurs, we're hustlers. We made something out of nothing. And we made a lot of money for somebody in music, and Mims was like, we have to get into tech. Now, at the time I had the BlackBerry, I didn't have the iPhone. Like, I was the latest to adopt technology. Like I said, I'm an OG, right? So I'm so old. I was using
OGs did not want to let go of that BlackBerry.
I'm so OG that you probably don't even know. Back in the day, computers had floppy disks, and then it was like hard disks. And anyway, so I went to school when there was a floppy disk. That's how old I am. And not to say that I'm like prehistoric. So I was just like the last adopt, and I was like, every other week Mims would call me with an idea, and several of my other clients the same thing. I'm like a springboard off of them. Manager's job is to take the artist's vision and to bring it to the masses. Right. We're the voice of the artist when it comes to a lot of business and translating that, and at the same time, whatever the other party is that we're trying to do business with, the managers are also responsible for translating that message to the artist. Like, okay, here's what my client wants to do. This is what you want to do. Let me go then talk to the client. And my job, and any manager's job, is to listen to both sides, obviously favoring your client side, but listening to both sides and trying to make a deal, right? Where, in my humble opinion, lawyers just fuck up deals. A manager's job is really to try not to be impartial, but to try to make a deal happen if there should be a deal. So every day Mims would call, not every day, every week Mims would call me with some idea and technology or whatever. And then one day he came to me with a few ideas that I thought were brilliant. And then I went out and I researched the market. Who are the competitors? Does this make sense for us to get into? And then we just went down the path many, many years ago to develop our own apps without even knowing how to develop an app. So I went to like Stanford University, and I would like literally, I didn't necessarily sleep on the floor, but I was like waiting outside of like all these nerds, and I mean that in a good way, all these nerds classes and stuff. And I was like, hey, I got this idea for this music app. And they looked at me like a weirdo, I was like, they're like, bro, we got paid, we're getting paid $200,000 as an intern at Oracle. You think we're gonna fucking build your startup music idea? And I didn't know where to turn, but eventually I learned how to do it.
Damn, waiting outside because no one else, like app creating at that time was like a crazy skill to like know. Like,
it still is. It's if anyone out there who's into app developing, you're gonna have a job for a very long time.
Damn, bro. So
software development.
When did you first hear about cryptocurrency?
So I actually I'm pretty well known now in the technology space in Miami. And I go to conferences and talks all the time, and I'm either speaking or I'm a listener. Like sometimes you're a student and sometimes you're the professor, right? And I like to be right in the middle. I bought my first crypto when in like 2012. I had no fucking idea where. Yeah, 2000.
Holy
but it was only it was $1 worth.
Yeah.
There was an ATM, a Bitcoin ATM, which is actually based in Miami. They're still around. It's called Bitcoin ATM, I think is what it's called, or BitStop. Yeah, something like that. And the guy was like, "Give me $1. I'm going to give you this digital fucking monopoly money." And I was like, actually, he was like, "Give me $100." Which, by the way, if I put $100 in that time, I'd be very well off. He's like, "Give me $100." And I was like, for what? He's like, "All right, just give me $1 so I could just show you how the machine works." And I was hesitant to even do that, but I was like, all right, whatever. Gave him $1. He bought some Bitcoin, and that was all I knew. I didn't even have a clue. I was like, this is just throwing money in the toilet. I had no idea what it was. Developed Mims Blackout, and I developed an app called at the time it's called Recordgram. Now it's called Creator App. It's basically a mobile recording studio in your pocket. It's like TikTok, but for original music creation. Music producers upload beats, artists can discover them, write a song, record a song, shoot a video, and share it. So it's basically like taking a recording studio and putting it in a 13-year-old's pocket.
Right.
It's still around. Download it, Creator App on iOS. We won TechCrunch Disrupt, which is the biggest startup competition in the world. Google that, by the way. So we won TechCrunch Disrupt, minority company to win, the first and only music company to ever win TechCrunch. This is a really, really big deal now. Like the biggest investors in the world in America like go to this thing. It's like the Grammys for startups, for lack of a better term. I don't know how the hell we won, but we won. And then after we won, this was in May of 2017, if I recall. And at the time, crypto was really starting to become somewhat mainstream. Like it's when Bitcoin was going from like $800 to like thousands of dollars. And I was starting to get calls from my current investors because I raised $1 million for the company. So I was starting to get calls from some of my investors, as well as some of my friends in Dubai who are very well off and rich and wealthy and very wealthy, actually. And I know Dubai.
I want to talk about that as well because you were in Dubai for a minute too.
Yeah, I go to Dubai all the time. But I've been going to Dubai
before it was like Dubai.
Like Dubai's as a country, I think is 45 or 50 years old from when they really started to develop. Mims and I have been going to Dubai for 10 years. So I think Mims was like the third. It was like Akon, Busta, and Mims. Like Mims was like the third or fourth hip hop artist to perform, like U.S. hip hop artist to perform in Dubai.
That's crazy.
So we have a really good relationships out there, and we love going there. But various people who I respect, several big artist managers that I'm friends with, just various people from investors to rich guys to people in the music industry, all walks of life, were talking to me about cryptocurrency.
Can you break it down for the average person listening? What is cryptocurrency? What is Bitcoin? You know, what is Ripple? People don't.
Okay. Man, this is going to sound really fucking nerdy if I go real deep into it.
But don't go deep. Break it down for like the average girl listening, like the average.
Cryptocurrency is digital internet money.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
So imagine if, and not imagine, this is happening now. Imagine if you're, these kids are using, what is it, V-Bucks and Rebucks? I'm sure any parents out there
for like
know.
Fortnite and shit, yeah.
Okay. That's essentially cryptocurrency, but it doesn't have a value. The value for that is that they can go buy goods in these digital stores that are owned by Fortnite and or Roblox. Okay. But imagine if you had a digital currency, a Roblox, Robux, whatever the fuck, that you can actually use to buy goods and services and things with.
Right.
That's what all these cryptocurrencies are.
And it's global, correct?
Global.
Like, so
there's no bank. There's no intermediary. It's not controlled by any government. No one can stop you from using it per se. So it also means that you have custody of your money. I want to break it down in layman terms. We think that when we put our money in banks, that we own our money. We don't own our money. I've been fortunate in my life that I've had to go to the bank to take out $100,000. Not to brag. Okay? I had to go do a transaction. I had to go get $100,000. When I went to the bank and I said, "Hi, here's my legal name, all my documents, my corporate documents. I have some money in my account. I'd like to remove $100,000." It took me days, maybe even a week, to get my money that I owned. and this was many years ago, I realized at that time that I didn't own my money. The bank said, what do you need it for? What are you using it for? They're doing like anti-money laundering and KYC, know your customer. They want to know, I mean, they already do that, but they want to know, what am I using the money for? Under 10 grand, they don't really ask. And sometimes the bank teller will be like, you want 9 grand? But when you go in there to get like a nice chunk of money, they're like, we don't even have that money in the bank. We have to call the security truck, the armored vehicle to come and drop us the money, and then we can call you and you can come get it. Right. So it wasn't like an easy process. There's something called a run on the banks, which has happened in Beirut and Lebanon recently, where I think it's the Lebanese pound went down and deflated it decreased by 50% in value. So $1 Lebanese pound was worth 50 cents the following morning. But what do you think happened? All the Lebanese went all to the banks to pull their money out. Right. What do you think the banks did? They shut their fucking doors because the banks didn't have the money to give it to the people. Right. In America, again, this is I'm not trying to get too technical. In America, we have what's called fractional banking. What that means is for every dollar you give the banks, they lend that dollar out 10 times. So your dollar to the banks is worth 10 times the amount. If everyone makes a run on the banks in America, which kind of happened in 08 and 09 a little bit, the bank, by the way, the banks only insure you up to, I think, $150,000. So for every account you have, if you have more than $150,000, if one day the banks go bankrupt, they don't owe you more than $150,000. So if they own multiple accounts that have.
So is it safe to say, like, you don't want really all your money in the bank? You want some in real estate, you want some in stock, you want to really diversify where your money's at? Or
so I'm not a lawyer, not a financial analyst. I don't have any formal training. I have none of my money in the bank except for like daily credit card bills and stuff like that. Right. So the answer is that this is my strategy. Right. I'm diversified in hard assets. Or in crypto. That's where and I'm also a licensed real estate agent. Okay. So I believe in hard assets. I believe in real estate. I believe in gold, and I believe in crypto. And me, that's all I fucking believe in. I don't believe in the U.S. dollar. The U.S. dollar is still the most powerful centralized currency in the world, but it's also losing value for us here in America. What the dollar today is going to be worth, it's going to be worth about 15% less next year, which means whatever we see in the stores, if milk is $3, it's going to be 15% higher next year based on the value of the dollar, because the U.S. government, instead of telling the citizens that we need to quarantine for 3 weeks like they did, or even maybe longer, like they did in the UAE, Dubai, or like they did in Italy. And by the way, in the UAE, there were certain days that people can leave to go food shopping, so you weren't stuck in your house. Right,
it's like Colombia, other countries.
But it was like
a national lockdown. It was you can't do that here because we're like 50 little countries, and you can't. There
was like cops in the street. They're like, yo, you can't leave the house. Let me see your paper to show that you can leave on Wednesday to go get chicken. Now people may think that's extreme, but it worked in America. You know what our government decided to do, and I can't necessarily knock them because they had to. They decided to go get their printing machine in the backyard of the White House and print trillions of dollars of money. Well, what happens? All of a sudden, when you're printing more of something, it's devaluing what's already out there.
Exactly.
And we think in America that, oh, that's great. I got, $1,200 and or I got these, PPP hot boys and the PPP hot girls and the EIDL hot girls are like, I got all this money. Someone's paying for it. Yeah. It's going to be your fucking kids who are paying for it. Maybe not next year, but in 3 to 5 years, but no one cares. Right. People are going to care when they have to spend $15 on milk. And that's going to be I don't want to say very soon. It's going to happen in the future. Right. When you go to the store, instead of paying $3 for milk, you're paying $15 for milk. They're going to say, "Why am I paying $15 for milk?" Well, the the PPP hot boys just took $3 trillion. The
pandemic boys.
And the pandemic boys just took $3 trillion printed fucking money out of thin air. So the point is that Bitcoin is a hedge against the U.S. dollar.
Question for you: what stops Bitcoin from doing that? From making more Bitcoin?
There's a limited, fixed supply. Sorry, there's only 21 million Bitcoin in existence ever, and it's rumored, there's about 3 million Bitcoin that's already lost. So that means really in circulating supply, there will only ever be about 18 to 18.5 million Bitcoin.
But someone creates it, right? Because it's not a tangible thing, right? So can't any person create a Bitcoin? Any computer hacker? You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Hold on, I'm going to give you an example. Yeah. I don't know if I have any money in my wallet. This right here, the only reason this has value is because the U.S. government says that this has value. Right. But this is really not really worth that much. Right. So Bitcoin is just a representation of this, that the market determines how much the value it is based on the supply and demand of Bitcoin. Back in the day, people used seashells. They used even salt. There's one country in Africa that if you gave the father salt, you can have sex with his daughter.
Right.
Back in the day. Right, it was a form of currency.
Right.
So,
but the U.S. government can print money.
They have printed
who's
money.
in charge of Bitcoin? Who prints the Bitcoin?
Nobody's in charge of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is ran off of computer code. So it's immutable, which means the code can't be changed. It can't be hacked. Bitcoin cannot be hacked. Your wallet that you hold your Bitcoin in can be hacked. Someone can get your credentials, your SIM swap you. They can get your phone number and they could steal your crypto. But that's not hacking. That's not hacking the blockchain that the Bitcoin is on. Bitcoin blockchain has never been hacked. It never will be hacked. It's computer code. It's high level shit that some guy named Satoshi Nakamoto, this made up fictional, this character who doesn't want to be known, came up with this concept for Bitcoin, published the Bitcoin white paper, and during when the country was going through a bunch of shit, and said the central banks are stealing from the people. This is not a good way. This is not a good way that money should operate. Have you ever tried to send a wire on the weekend? You can't.
Yeah.
You can't. You can't send a wire on the weekend. Why? We're in a 24/7, 365 economy, global economy, where we can't send money on the weekend. With have you ever? And if you try to send money in countries where people are not as fortunate as we are, in India and in certain, let's say, Latin American countries, when you try to send a few $100s to a family member, you might be paying $30. Now, that doesn't seem like a lot, but when you look at the percentage of money you're sending versus the fees you're paying, it's a hell of a lot. And it's a hell of a lot to a family that may not have the same type of financial bank accounts that you or I have. So the point is that blockchain and cryptocurrency is a way to move money internationally without anyone controlling your money. You have control over it 24/7. You could transfer it 24/7, and you can, and it's cheap, way cheaper to transfer money. I can transfer $1 million to you right now in 5 seconds for less than $1.
And internationally too.
International, that's right.
Yeah,
it's all done through digital wallets.
Do you think we'll get to a space where there'll be Bitcoin ATMs, or we could easily just exchange U.S. money for some of my Bitcoin? Or?
They're already, there's like 80 exchanges in there already are. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh,
for sure.
damn.
In fact, let me pull out one other cool little gadget I got. People are like, well, can I spend this Bitcoin? Can I use this Bitcoin to buy anything? Like, what is this monopoly money that's just made up out of the sky? Let me just block certain things. This is a Visa crypto card.
Oh shit.
Which is attached to my phone, which has a digital wallet in it. My wallet has a certain amount of cryptocurrency.
So
Bitcoin.
You could swipe that like a regular card.
This is Visa. Anywhere that Visa is accepted, this is accepted. The merchant doesn't even know I'm using crypto. Why? Because in my app, the currency transfers, or I'm sorry, it converts to whatever the current rate is at the time I make the purchase. So let's say I have $1,000 in Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is worth, let's say, $1,000. It's worth way more than that. But let's say, so it's 1,000, right? And I go buy a coffee. If Bitcoin is $900, then my Bitcoin that I'm transferring to this card is worth $900. If Bitcoin is worth $2,000, now it's worth $2,000. The point is that the merchant gets the $5 for the latte. They don't know that I just used Bitcoin to do it, because they're not receiving Bitcoin. The Bitcoin converts to $5 USD at that moment of purchase. So as long as it's on your wallet, you could still earn money or lose money depending on what the price of Bitcoin is. And then when you're ready to convert it, that's when your strike price is. But it's like instantaneous in your phone. And I can use this anywhere in the world.
Wow. And then, Bitcoin obviously birthed a bunch of other cryptocurrencies. How do you feel about that? Like, is it, Bitcoin is obviously still like the mother cryptocurrency.
Bitcoin is Nike, and all the other current cryptocurrencies are behind it. The difference between various cryptocurrencies is really their use case and their functionalities. What can you use these various cryptocurrencies for? Who's accepting these cryptocurrencies? And really, they're all software. It's all, like I said, programmable code, computer code. And certain, all different currencies differ in some aspects of their code. So, I don't know how deep you want me to get into it about the different currencies and stuff, but
well, for example, I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong, because 2 years ago, 2018, you had that whole Bitcoin hype, and that was when I got into it and invested into it. And the ones that I invested to at the time were Ripple and TRX.
Yeah.
Would you say Ripple is who's number 2 right now?
Well, it's Bitcoin, it's Ethereum, and then number 3, I believe, is Ripple.
Okay.
As of 5 minutes ago, I think.
Yeah. Oh shit. Really?
Yeah.
And okay. So, for example, what differs between Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Ripple?
So Bitcoin is what people consider a store of value. When Bitcoin first came out, people thought it was going to be used as digital money. But what happened is so many people started buying Bitcoin that it became valuable like gold. It became a store of value. The reason that investors and rich people, way smarter than me, own gold is because historically it's been a store of value. What that means is it holds the value. It doesn't devalue like what's happening with the US dollar right now. So it's a hedge against the dollar. When the dollar inflates, the value of gold goes up. In fact, there's an inverse correlation. So when dollar goes down, gold goes up. When dollar goes up, gold goes down. So it's a hedge against the U.S. dollar. That's why people say gold is a good investment. But what happened but unlike gold, which Bitcoin is compared to, have you ever tried to carry a ton of gold or $1 million worth of gold? You would need like a truck, I think.
Yeah.
I can carry $1 million of Bitcoin in my pocket right now on that digital. It's weightless, right? I can also use Bitcoin to buy things. Have you ever had a ton of gold and tried to shave off gold at the supermarket to buy your produce? It's impossible, right? So you can't really store gold. You can't put a rock of gold in your living room. I mean, you could. You look ridiculous, and you can't really pay with gold. So it's not a means of payment. It is a store of value. Gold is a store of value, but so is Bitcoin. And Bitcoin has other properties like being able to transfer it quickly and spend it on things that gold will never ever have. So what happens is, and then when you have the increase in Bitcoin, the intended use case of Bitcoin initially as a method of payment, that's no longer it. Right now it's gold, it's a store of value. People are investing in Bitcoin because they believe that the price is going to appreciate as the dollar, as inflation happens around the world globally, it will be a store of value. And if you take a look at what gold started out, an ounce of gold, and where it is now, you can only imagine what the price of Bitcoin is going to be in the future. And when you look at gold's market cap, which I'm not 100% sure what it is, Bitcoin's market cap is just a fraction of gold. So if you believe, or your audience believes, as I believe, that Bitcoin is going to start taking market share of gold away, and is going to start to eat up into that market share of gold, even if Bitcoin takes just a little bit of a bigger percentage of gold's market cap than what gold has right now, meaning gold's market cap goes down a little bit and Bitcoin's market cap increases, we're looking at trillions of dollars. We're looking at the new economy, which will make the
global economy,
which will make the limited supply of Bitcoin that's out there today exponentially grow.
Wow.
Those are just economics. This is not like Erik's crazy fucking thoughts. That's just simple economics.
Do you see it as stock to where it could like split? Or like, because right now you're like, you could sell fractions of one Bitcoin, right? Let me be clear for the audience. Bitcoin right now, last trading was $17,200 or something like that. When we sat down, it's probably higher now. You can buy $10 worth of Bitcoin. So don't think that you have to go spend $17,000 of Bitcoin. No, Bitcoin won't necessarily split. What happens is it's called forking in crypto. Which is happening with XRP. Well, not exactly, but forking is basically someone takes this computer code and they make it better. They improve on it and they create another token that's built on top of that blockchain to work with this new software system. So they take Bitcoin's blockchain and they'll make improvements to it, like Bitcoin Cash or stuff. I mean, I can get really nerdy with it. So back to the original question. Can you so now what's Ripple? What's Ethereum? What are the differences?
So Ethereum is where my heart is. It has a very strong use case for the music industry, and it has a very strong use case for almost any industry in the world, including real estate and dozens of others. Ethereum is kind of a software developer's currency, which they can build applications off of. And the main benefit of Ethereum versus Bitcoin is that they have what's called smart contract language. What smart contract language is, it's simply computer code that executes a contract. So let's just say I want to sign an artist. Bottom line is contracts today, whether they're real estate or music related or anything, paper contracts, there's lawyers involved. Give me my check, give me the check. Every 6 months I got to call to get my money. Right. There's a lot of middlemen, a lot of people in the process. It's a manual process. All right. Computer code or smart contracts are computer code that executes these smart contracts. So nerds plug in the smart contract if it was a written contract, what would it be in computer code, and it executes. So let's just say for a royalty-based artist, in 6 months, the artist is owed money. They don't have to call up Capitol Records and say, where's my money? Through the blockchain, they get paid automatically based on what the code tells them.
The process handles it. It's like automatic payment almost.
It's automatic processing. That's right.
Oh, shit. All right.
I know, this is some deep shit.
I'm like trying to like wrap my head around it. Like, give me.
So I'm a healthy guy, fortunately, but unfortunately, both of my parents passed away, not to get all personal. When my parents passed away, whenever they go to the hospital or the doctors, that doctor has to call every other doctor before them, and they have to like fucking fax the paperwork. Very archaic system because they're trying to protect their identity, and nothing is really done on the computer. It's like so archaic. Well, what if each person has its own unique identifying blockchain number, right? They don't know you're Casey Chopz. They just know that you're a fucking number. And you tell the doctor who sees you have permission to use my number to access all of my medical records. So instead of that, now all the doctors are putting your records on the blockchain, which is a transparent ledger. Again, I can get really deep. It's transparent computer code that a layman person can read. And instead of that doctor having to go call all your different people that you saw, they could just go into your blockchain unique identifier and look at all your health records. I mean, that could, not to get all deep, but that could save millions of lives.
Right.
Because if I'm allergic to penicillin, which I am, and I, God forbid, get into a car accident and someone at the scene wants to give me penicillin, well, I'll probably die from the penicillin before I'll die from the car accident. But if they can just look on their computer code and look on the blockchain, they can say, okay, Erik's allergic to penicillin. They don't got to call my doctors. Again, I can get really deep and stuff, but this is not far from the future. Right. This is going to happen. Right. So, not to feel like a nut job, but I'm telling you it's going to happen. Okay. These are just different excuses. This is all these different use cases of Ethereum and smart contracts.
So I'm an investor in Ripple for 2 years and I don't know what the fuck it is still. So all I know is it has a promising future. Yeah. So can you break Ripple down?
Yeah. Ripple very simply is a global remittance token. It basically allows you to transfer, what I said before, they're working with the major banking system. Swift, the Swift code. You ever have to go to the bank and give your Swift code to transfer money to different bank accounts? It's basically a replacement for the Swift code, but in a digital form. So you can literally make instantaneous transfers to people all over the world at a fraction, like pennies to the pennies of what it would cost you to send money. Right. So I can send you millions of dollars using Ripple XRP through the banking system, instantaneous on the weekends, whatever. Right. Using Ripple. That's basically Ripple. What Ripple's promises. Wow. And Ripple didn't have smart contracts. But now there's a new platform out there that took Ripple's code and is improving on Ripple's code, and it's called the Flare Network or the Spark token, and that's supposed to be coming out December 12th in about 12 days, which is why Ripple's price has gone through the roof.
Wow. And correct me if I'm wrong, Bank of America announced that they're going to start doing dealings with Ripple?
You know what's crazy? I read that somewhere, but I didn't read that. Someone sent me that, but I don't know if that's true, but it could be true. If it's not, it will be true. Right.
Wow. Okay. So
and it's not just, there's other banks outside of America. There's big banks, international banks that are using Ripple system as a way to remit payment to one another. Right. It may go over a lot of your viewers' heads, and people may not understand it. But when you have to send money to places overseas, there's waiting periods. You got to wait 3 days for this to clear, or got to pay this fee or $45 to wire transfer. Well, if I need to send you money instantly for a transaction, I don't want there to be a lot of people in the middle. I don't want you to have to wait days and days and days to get the money that I'm sending you. I want to know that transaction's happening quickly, and I want it to be as cheap as possible. Ripple allows us to do that.
And it also makes sense to diversify your currency, so you're not at the mercy of, if the dollar goes down, now your whole portfolio is down. Have some Ripple, have some Bitcoin, have some US shit, have some yen, have whatever. What? So you were in Dubai for a minute, bro, and can you talk about that country? You were doing a lot of tech stuff over there, right?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, Mims was touring in Dubai before we were even thinking about tech. So we go out there just because we have friends out there, and we love spending time in there.
They have pet tigers and shit? What's the craziest shit you've seen in Dubai?
Craziest shit?
The most luxurious, ignorant.
I mean, we've seen all the crazy, like the cars and the... Right. There's a crashed Lambo, junkyard. No, junkyard. People just crashed their Lambos. It's like
a Lambo junkyard.
I'm like, man, just give me the bump. Yeah. So, no, I mean, the last time I was in Dubai, they shut down the roads for this car club that my friend is a part of, and he invited me to go. So we were going, 150 miles an hour on these streets, like weaving in and out, and the traffic was to the side, and the cops were like
allowing it.
Yeah, they were our chaperones.
Wow, man,
that was pretty dope. I pet tigers and all that shit, but I don't like the animal stuff because I'm very pro animals.
And the hotels are crazy over there, right?
Yeah, the hotels. You go out here, you spend $200. It's like, what are you getting for $200? Even people think that Dubai is so expensive to travel. Dubai is not an expensive place to travel to. You can get a flight for $800 to Dubai, and you can get a dope Airbnb, a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom Airbnb for $100 a night. $100 a night.
That's it, really?
Yes. See, that's what I'm saying.
Oh shit!
That's typically the reaction people get. Damn, because they see all this luxury and they think if it was that luxurious, then there wouldn't be. Dubai relies on tourism, not so much oil. Well, it's oil based, but it's they're using the oil money to build up their tourism. So if it was that expensive for people around the world to travel to, then there wouldn't be too many people traveling there.
Damn,
so
bro.
It's not as expensive as people think.
And
now, if you go to the club and you want a table, you're getting popped, 10 times club live style.
Yeah.
But, if you want to just do cool shit and see cool shit, it ain't that expensive. I might go next week, actually.
Might go to Dubai next week.
Humble break. But that's because there's a big technology conference that I'm involved in, and then the week after is F1 races. So,
So where else do you see just the tech world going, bro? Like, that's. How do you feel about streaming? Like just in the music space, like.
Yeah, I think streaming is good. If the streaming companies pay the songwriters what they're owed. I've always felt back in the day that streaming is an amazing way to consume content, but I knew that if artists were getting fucked pre-streaming, that there was going to be a million more ways that they can get ripped off today.
Because we don't know what a stream is worth at the end of the day. It's like digital real estate.
I'm in the music industry. I know all this shit, and I still don't know what because it's prorated. It's like how much advertising is versus the amount of listeners divided by. I mean, you got to be fucking Einstein to figure it out.
And then, just
it's not transparent. Right,
exactly. And then just in the podcast space, I think it's 75% of streaming listenership comes from music and 25% comes from podcasts. And if, I have listeners that listen for an hour, right? Let's say my retention is close to 45 minutes to an hour. So if this song gets this many streams, it's worth this. Then what the fuck is an hour's worth of them spending a time on your digital platform worth? No one's getting paid from podcasts. You know what I'm saying? And they're still spending. It's like music. It's the same shit. It's time on your app.
And an hour on a podcast, if anyone's spending an hour, is very, very valuable. If you're advertising, if there's advertisement, because it has to be monetized some way.
Right, but Apple and Spotify, they're not giving out checks like they are for the music side.
It's a loss leader for them. For on the podcast side, that may change.
Right.
That may change.
So people are spending all this time on all this digital real estate on podcasting, but they're only paying the music side of it. You know what I'm saying? So,
well, there was a few podcast companies that got acquired recently for like $200 million
from Spotify. Joe Rogan signed $100 million deal with Spotify.
Yeah, that backfired on Spotify, in my opinion.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, why do you think so?
Their stock prices went up artificially, but some of the content, the people, some of the employees didn't like some of the content that Joe Rogan had.
Yeah,
and I feel like they overpaid for that. Like, is Joe Rogan real? I love Joe Rogan, but is he really that valuable of a dude? Like, I mean, $100 million?
He's billions. He's the biggest podcast in the world. Like the biggest, and his podcasts are 3 hours. So his retention time, people are spending 3 hours, and he's getting millions of views for 3 hours. You know what I mean? It's a different type of.
I have not jumped on the podcast craze, although I know I should be. I think on one plant, like I listen to Drink Champs.
Okay, yeah, they're dope.
And I think maybe I listen to 5 minutes of Joe Rogan. But me personally, my time is so consumed. I like reading traditional books, and I'm reading like the blogs and the crypto stuff that I just don't have time for the podcast. But I get it because you can consume the content. Whenever. Remember I said I'm kind of late on technology. I'm late on this. You can consume the content whenever you want. Right at your fingertips.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's dope.
And you can educate yourself a lot quicker than any other time, any other period in history, because you could, I'd rather listen to something than read something. You know what I'm saying? So Joe Rogan is having scientists and neurologists and, all that. And I'm learning so much shit that I could be driving and it's like I'm reading a book. You know what I mean?
The difference for me when it comes to reading a book, and by the way, I'm not the difference for me about reading a book is when I read a book, I get to make up my own decisions. And when I'm listening to a podcast, there's always probably multiple people in the podcast. And I don't know what kind of hidden agendas these people have to have this conversation.
Right.
So, people may be watching us right now and say, Eric wants us to go buy Bitcoin so that his Bitcoin holdings go up. Like, I don't think
I get it.
I don't think anyone's going to make that big of a dent on my holdings out there. So I'm just trying to educate.
Right.
You know, that's what that. And by the way, this is where everyone who's watching, who's still watching me blab. You're still early on crypto. So if you don't have it or you don't understand it, you're not late. You're still very, very, very fucking early. So
how do you see? I mean, I can never like really trust any analysis because they were like Ripple's going to be $1 by the end of the week, and this shit went down to 50 cents. So I can't really trust anyone's shit. You know what I mean? But would you say just those top three, just to invest in those top Bitcoin, Ripple, Ethereum, like just?
So there's another one that I'm very bullish on, and again, this is not financial advice or legal advice. This is what I have. It's called Celsius. I'm a big fan of Celsius. Celsius.network. You guys can follow me on Instagram and get my referral code. Humble shill here. Celsius custodies your crypto. So what that means is that you don't have custody of your own holdings, your own crypto. They custody your crypto. So if you have $10,000 in Bitcoin, you give it to them. They lend out your crypto and they pay you 10% interest a year on various, actually up to 20-something%.
So is this the substitute for Binance? You were like, get your shit off Binance.
No, not a substitute for Binance. It's not an exchange. I don't trust any exchanges out of America because I've had bad dealings and bad relationships with them. There's really a lot of these countries that these companies or these exchanges are based in are very liberal and progressive, and there's no real recourse. So if they take your money as a U.S. citizen, because again, there's no banks, there's no middlemen, there's nobody. Right. If they get hacked, a computer hack happens, and their funds get stolen, who are you going to call to get your crypto back?
So where do you keep your Bitcoin? So you're saying I shouldn't keep it in Binance?
No.
Damn.
No. So the only exchanges that I trust, and this isn't where I keep my crypto on my digital wallets, which are my own. It's called cold storage. It's like a USB jump drive or like a.
It's kind of like your bank account, your crypto bank account.
Yeah, you could say
it's not. You can't trade on
Sure,
it.
You can.
Oh, you can.
Well, you got to transfer it out of certain cold storages to the exchange. The exchanges are where you trade, but it's not where you custody your coins. Don't leave your tokens on these centralized exchanges because then they own it. It's like a bank. The only way that you have custody of your own crypto is if you keep it in your digital ledger or your digital wallets, which is like a little jump drive.
So how do you prefer people, to maneuver with their Bitcoins as far as where to keep it and where to exchange it and where to trade it?
So in America, we have very limited options. And we have very limited options because it's a very heavily regulated space, unlike the rest of the world, which is not very regulated. So you really have Coinbase, you have Kraken, you have Bittrex, and Gemini and Binance.us, although I think they may be shutting that down for regulation. Really, it's Coinbase, Kraken, Bittrex, and Bittrex, depending on your account. Really, it's Coinbase for most people.
Yeah, I had Coinbase, but then I had to transfer from Coinbase into Binance to be able to exchange. So what you're saying is, do I take the money off Binance and then put it back into Coinbase?
The difference with other exchanges is that there's more token trading pairs. So whatever currency you have, you can trade it with a variety of various cryptocurrencies. Where on Coinbase, there's maybe less than 50 tokens that you can trade on Coinbase. On some other exchanges, it's up to hundreds of them.
Well, 2 years ago, it was only Bitcoin.
So that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah, it was. They're increasing. Coinbase is increasing, but they're not increasing it to all projects because a lot of projects are scams and are not worthy and they're stealing funds. Mm-hmm. So that's why you have to be very careful of what other cryptocurrencies you're trading into. But
for the most part, do you trust Coinbase?
Yes, 100%. They're regulated by the U.S. government. They have ridiculous insurance policy. They're like a fucking bank.
Okay.
Yeah, I trust Coinbase.
Okay.
And they have such an insurance policy that if your crypto got stolen, they'd be able to replace it.
Okay.
Go try that with some Chinese exchange.
So are you suggesting to me that take my money out of Binance and just keep it in Coinbase?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, actually Celsius, if you want to be honest with you.
Okay.
Because you earn interest. You don't earn interest on Coinbase. Although Coinbase now has an interest. You can earn interest on Coinbase, but it's not as much as Celsius.
Right. So and I don't see myself trading coins. Like
Celsius, Celsius is a hodl platform, which what it means is that if you believe in the long-term value of your crypto holdings, put it onto Coinbase. Put it onto Celsius, and you'll earn interest every day. You'll earn interest.
And so I said transfer my Ripple to Celsius. I can buy more Ripple on Celsius?
I believe they are going in that route, but maybe not for US right now. So you still have to kind of buy on these gateways like Coinbase, which is regulated by the US government and by banking laws and SEC.
So I could buy Ripple on Coinbase now?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dope, Eric. I appreciate you coming through. Plug your social media where everybody can follow you.
Erik Answerman, ErikAnswerman. Follow me. If anyone has any questions about this stuff, they can always PM me and I'll respond when I have time.
You're in the real estate game, right?
I am. I'm a licensed real estate agent. So if anyone's looking for real estate in Florida, I kind of know what the fuck I'm talking about.
How do you feel about the Miami real estate right now?
Okay, again, my opinion. Right now, home values in Pembroke Pines, Miramar, single-family homes have gone up about 20 or 30% during COVID for a few reasons. Number one, everyone from New York and LA is moving out here.
Right.
Number two, there's people from downtown area that's moving to the suburbs or to the
single flooding and shit, right?
To single family, because they don't want to be around a lot of people because of COVID. That's the real other reason. The other reason is that there's, and this is the main reason that home values are increasing in this market or in South Florida. Everyone wants to live here. Cost of living, no taxes or low taxes, depending on how you register. There's low inventory. So if there was 200 homes before COVID for sale, now there's like 20.
Yeah.
Like affordable homes.
Right.
And those homes that are on the market right now are not the best homes, meaning before COVID, people probably wouldn't even look to certain brackets or money. Meaning it's gone up, and like a $300,000 home is maybe $350,000, $360,000 now.
Right.
And you're looking at that home for $360,000, and you're like, well, there's nothing good for $360,000. You're looking at a $400,000 home before COVID at $450,000, $460,000, and you're like, man, I could have got this home for $400,000 before COVID. Why am I going to pay $50,000, $60,000 more? And it's like FOMO. It's like interest rates are low. They're going to be. By the way, interest rates are going to be low. Were low before COVID and will be low, in my opinion, for another year and a half. So anyone out there who thinks they have to go buy a home now because interest rates are still low, they're going to be low for a while.
Yeah.
And here's why. The economy, in my opinion, is going to go a fucking bloodbath. In Q2 and Q3 of next year, again, I am a real estate agent, but I'm not a licensed financier. I believe that the short sale foreclosure craze, it's not going to be as big as it was, is going to come back in Q2 and Q3 of next year. Why? Because the government has a moratorium on evictions, foreclosures. They can't kick anyone out till the end of the year. But the banks have already started the process. So the banks are just waiting for the time to start kicking out people. So if you're, especially for those people that are renting, if you're renting a home and you have 6 months, you haven't paid your rent and no one's kicked you out and they can't kick you out, when they can kick you out, before they kick you out, what's the first thing your landlord or management officer is going to say to you? Hey, you got that 6 months rent you owe us? And if you say no, they're going to kick you out. Now, you may say, well, how's that going to increase them, or how's that going to affect the market? Because owners of properties some are very, very rich, not all. They have a mortgage to pay. How are they going to pay? How have they been able to pay their mortgage if you're not paying them their rent? So it's a trickle-down effect where the renters can affect the owners of single-family properties, and maybe some of those landowners or landlords are going to start foreclosing or short-selling on their homes. And then you look at it the other side. Anyone who thinks that the job market has recovered, I don't care what news you listen to. I don't care what political affiliation you are. If you really believe the economy is strong right now, you're fucking delusional. It's strong for the top 1% of 1%. Yeah. I love that ringtone. Yeah. So the point that I'm saying is that, there 20% of about 50% of people in Florida, to my knowledge, have more or their homes are paid off. I heard this recently. I think 50% of people, something like that. 50% of their homes are paid off. That seems like a high number though. 30% before COVID had positive equity in their homes, meaning their homes were worth more than what they owed. And then there was like 20% of the people where they took out, a 3% mortgage at a low interest rate, but right now it's like the property values versus what they owe, it's like dead even. Now, if they lose their jobs, are they going to be able to keep that up? No. Now you go down to the other 30% people who were positive in equity. So if they've lost their jobs, now what's happening is the equity in their homes are decreasing because they haven't been able to make those payments. Right. And no one's foreclosing on them, but eventually they're going to have to make those payments. So the equity in their homes is shortening. So those are going to be the people, well, the 20% finished, short sale foreclosure, in my opinion. And the other 30%, they're not necessarily at short sale foreclosure status yet because their homes are still worth more than what they owed. But if they don't have a mortgage, and if they don't have a job and they can't afford to pay their mortgage, they better start seeing a real estate agent like myself to sell their home before it has to get short sold or foreclosed. Unfortunately for them, because they don't have a job. So anyone who's smart right now who thinks, we're just going to wait it out, we're going to just wait it out.
So you see a crash coming?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, a very bad one.
Yeah.
A very
national.
And I don't want to be a scared one. Yeah. If it's Florida's always the worst.
Yeah.
But yes, nationally for sure.
And then just as far as the condo climate in Miami, I think the stat
That's the worst right now.
I think the stat is like 1 in every 3 condos in Brickell's empty. Right.
There's a 5-year, unlike single family homes, which is doing well right now. People who are watching this who have single family homes think that I don't know what I'm talking about. The people who are in condos know there's a 5-year surplus of condos, meaning there's so many condos that are available right now for sale that it's going to take 5 years to sell out that inventory.
When is it going to crash so I could buy it, bro?
I said Q2, Q3.
I got my condo on the market like for 50% more than what it's worth. I hope someone from New York up north bites on it because they got to move their grandma down here or something. But that's where I'm waiting for that to crash so I could get one of those condos at a low price. But
Q2, Q3 of next year, the condos are actually Q2, Q3 next year. I think is going to be a time, and most realtors will say buy now, buy. No, I don't want our people to go through what they went through in 07, 08, and 09. And there were people who were, I see exactly what happened in 07, 08, and 09 is going to happen, I believe, next year. And there's a series of things. There's the political climate, there's COVID, there's people losing jobs. In 07, 08, 09, the housing crisis caused our recession. And right now, the housing market is the only thing keeping us afloat. But at the end of this year, the government is pulling away their safety net for a lot of people.
Right.
And a lot of people are not going to recover, are not going to have jobs. And that's compounded by the fact that we're just flooding market. We're flooding money into the market and printing money, our money machine, which is devaluing our dollar.
Right.
So people are losing jobs. The savings that they have are devaluing, are losing money. And how are we going to pay all these bills?
Yeah.
It's
damn.
Again,
you're depressing me, Eric.
I've made more. The rich people, and I'm not rich, but the rich people have made more money during COVID.
It's fucked up. Yeah,
and that's why I'm here sharing this information with you because we,
the people,
the middle class,
right,
and even those that are less class, if that makes sense, lower class.
Yeah,
I don't like saying lower class.
Right.
We have an opportunity right now to 10 times our net worth in the next 6 months using crypto and blockchain. If you're smart, 10 times. So if you have 10,000 in the bank right now, you can have 60,000 in the bank in 6 months. You can also do that in the stock market, but crypto thing is a lot more fun.
Right.
There's a generational shift in wealth that's happening right now, in my opinion, that we'll never see in my lifetime again. And that's happening because of blockchain and crypto, because we're still at the ground of this early technology. This .com, when it was early, there was people who made money, there was people who lost, and there was a few that made it out. And the ones that made it out, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Celsius, these are ones that I'm betting on.
So put the money into crypto, is what you're saying.
And real estate and gold, diversify.
Right. And stock, you play with the stock market?
You know what's crazy is that I did play with the stock market. I sold all of my holdings. Crypto's more fun to me.
Yeah.
And I think the stock market
but it's volatile, no?
What is?
Like Bitcoin.
Before we sat down, I told you that I'm a degenerate poker player, right? I bet on sports. Listen, I'm a serial entrepreneur. Like when you met me, I was with Jive, I was corporate. I would take my money and I would reinvest it into myself. I would reinvest it into things that I believed in. And that in and of itself is the biggest risk. The biggest and the safest risk you can take is on yourself.
Right.
My father passed away, and he said, Eric, just keep betting on yourself. Because when I was younger, and I was like, Dad, how are all these? And I was younger, way younger. I was like, how are all these people making money? He was like, they bet on themselves. That was his answer. They bet on themselves. They don't trust. They bet if they believe that they can achieve. And then there are others. There are investors who bet on themselves, do well, and then they take their money and they bet on others. Eventually, I'm going to get to a point where I'm no longer hip for the music industry, and I'm going to be betting on the younger kids to make it happen, or the younger software developer to make it happen. Right now, I'm in that position, but when I get to a certain position that I can invest my money in someone else, I'm still investing in. I'm investing in myself by investing in you, because I believe that you're the new me.
A lot of people, a lot of people don't have that mind state, bro.
No.
A lot of people do not even understand that concept.
Yeah, I don't have the answers to everything, but I think that I can spot people who do, and I'm going to bet on those people when I get into that financial position.
If there was anyone I would bet on, it's people like yourself that are ahead of the curve as far as tech. because tech is the future. Tech is going to be everything. You know what I mean? So the people that are on the, are on the forefronts of that, I'm trusting what they're saying about the future.
I have my son, my 10-year-old son. He's been doing coding school since he was 7. I didn't have those same opportunities. Like I said, there was the floppy disk when I was younger. Right. I don't know how to code, and I'm a tech entrepreneur.
Right.
I don't know how to rap, and I'm a music executive. I won a Latin Grammy, Mi no hablo español.
Yeah.
For real. I won a Grammy with Don Omar. I don't even speak Spanish.
Yeah.
So don't think, if you can dream it, you can achieve it. I know it sounds contrived and corny, but we're in the greatest fucking country in the world. If you dream it, you can achieve it if you work hard and stop making excuses.
Right.
And right now, with this paradigm shift with cryptocurrency, a lot of the institutional players and the bankers are now starting to get into it. And you're going to see Bitcoin, in my opinion, which is what's happening the last few weeks. Some of the bigger players are now, they doubted it. And now they're like, wait a minute, this Bitcoin thing is for real. And then as more people get into it, it's going to be a chain effect.
So let's just play hypothetical right now. If Bitcoin is, what did you say, is that 17K?
Yes. I can look right now.
Yeah, again. Let's say 17K.
$17,182. Nope, $16,991.
You see? Okay, so a year from now, where is it at? Where do you say?
A year? This is just a complete fucking guess. A year from now? I can give a range of, say, 50 to 100 grand, or I could say it'll be at 100 grand in a year from now.
Really?
Mm-hmm. People are looking for smart people, very, very smart people are looking for an investment outside of the US dollar. We keep our money in banks because they pay us 1% interest a year. Celsius gives us 10 to 20% interest a year. The dollar is losing 15% in value. Bitcoin went up, 100% this year. Bitcoin actually, historically, since Bitcoin's been out, it's gone up 100% every single year. So yeah, Bitcoin tanks, people lose money, it goes up, it goes down. It's very manipulated because there's whales. Bitcoin's market cap is still very small compared to, let's say, Apple.
Right.
But the bigger the market cap of something gets, the harder it is to manipulate it.
Right.
So there's a lot of people overseas that we call them whales that have a lot of that can buy and sell and manipulate the price. But eventually they'll be weeded out.
All these dinosaurs with that still don't even understand the concept. With all this money, eventually they're going to put money into it.
In the beginning, in January, if not certainly the first quarter of next year, PayPal is going to introduce the Libra token, which is pegged to the US dollar. It's going to be the biggest social network in the world is going to be using a cryptocurrency for their network. Now, it's pegged to the US dollar, which means it's not necessarily investment. If the dollar goes up in value, then the Libra token will go up because of inflation or deflation. But what it's going to do, what Facebook introducing Libra is going to do, it's going to let all of your viewers and everyone else around the world who's on Facebook who has no idea how to use crypto, a digital wallet, doesn't know what I'm talking about, it's going to be like a self-education for all these 2 billion people that use Facebook. And then once these people are comfortable with Libra and transacting with this digital currency in Facebook, by the way, China's already doing this. They've been doing it for years now. So as soon as we move all of our transactions digitally and people get comfortable using their phones as their bank accounts and their wallets and custodying their own tokens and keeping their passcodes and their phrases secure and using 2-factor authentication, this is all Chinese to a lot of people, but not to me. Right. As soon as people get used to it, and it won't be that long of an adoption process. People will be like, well, what else can I get? Can I get Bitcoin now? It's the same process. It's called network effects, man. Like
so you think in how long, like, paper dollars are going to be non-existent eventually, right?
I think within the next 4 years, paper dollars could be
not worthless.
Dollar won't be worthless. Within the next 8 years, I can easily see the U.S. China's all digital right now. For the most part, they're not carrying paper money in China.
Really? So I'll just phone to phone, tap my phone on your phone.
It's all through WeChat, man. Alipay, WeChat.
Oh, holy shit! Yeah, Eric, I appreciate you coming through and breaking all this down.
Yeah, we could do this.
Thank you. Like as always, tell the people one more time where they could follow you.
Oh, Erik Answerman, ErikAnswer on Instagram. That's really the only platform I'm on. Twitter was hacked by a bot years ago, and I just let it go, man.
There it is, bro. Appreciate it, bro.